It's Monday, the 19th of August, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 big stories to get through in 5 minutes, so we better get going. Story number 1, almost 1/3 of companies on the ASX have reported their June earnings, and with results slightly better than expected, the bourse has lifted, and that supports Reserve Bank confidence that the economy is still chugging along.
Thus far, there have been fewer surprisingly strong and surprisingly weak results than normal. Consensus expectations are for a 3.6% drop in profits for the last financial year. Energy is expected to contribute to that mostly. Also, mining, consumer staples, IT and financial sectors. That's according to AMP Shane Oliver. There have been some strong results, JB Hi-Fi and Commonwealth Bank, but also signs of a slowing economy with some consumer spending groups and media companies demonstrating weakness. Also, the online property players Domino and REA have reported higher levels of listings, which might reflect housing distress, while the Commonwealth Bank and National Australia Bank both reported a jump in loan arrears. But really, there is still a bit of oomph in the economy, Michael, and the Reserve Bank knows it. On Friday, Governor Michelle Bullock repeated that interest rates are not going to rise or fall anytime soon, saying current rate settings appeared likely to bring inflation down to manageable levels.
Sean, so the local market's doing well. What about overseas?
Been a cracking week. Last week, global stocks recorded their best week since November. Give you a few examples. Wall Street's S&P 500 broke a 4-week losing streak, closed up 4%. Now it's just 2% below its all-time high. Japanese stocks, they'd been sold off, really bore the brunt of the global sell-off at the start of August. They jumped 8% last week. The stocks Europe 600, top 600 stocks in Europe, they're at 2.4%. Investors just a bit confident that the global economy isn't heading for a recession.
Okay, moving on to story number 2 now. National Australia Bank has warned that interest rates and persistent inflation are hurting customers, with delinquent loans rising in the June quarter.
In a June quarter update, the country's second largest bank said non-performing loans had risen to 1.31% of the book compared to 1.2% at 30 June. Doesn't sound like much, but it's a 10% increase in bad loans. The increase reflects a continued broad-based deterioration in business and private banking combined with higher arrears for mortgage holders. Chief Executive Andrew Irvine said he was unsurprised by the increase and the bank had set aside money, adding it showed that the economic environment is challenging for customers. NAB, which has a September 30 balance date, reported a third quarter profit of $1.75 billion. That was flat. The lender is growing its mortgage book slower than its competitors, and it's been unseated as a number 3 mortgage bank by ANZ's acquisition of Suncorp. Its share price finished 1.6% higher on Friday.
Sean, story number 3, good news for anyone who loves heading along to an auction on a Saturday morning. The spring selling season is almost upon us. The number of auctions is picking up, with preliminary clearance rates almost hitting 71%.
The number of auctions over the past week was just short of 2,000, the highest number since June, with the rise in the preliminary clearance rate being driven by Sydney, came in at 75%, according to CoreLogic. Melbourne was 67%, Adelaide 84%, Brisbane 63%. But it's really the pre-season, with the number of houses going up for sale rising over the next couple of months. CoreLogic figures show that the number of new listings is tracking higher than last year, and it's about 11% above the 5-year average.
Story number 4, Domino's Pizza has found a new boss of its local operations, and Sean, it's the CEO's sister.
Kerry Hayman is her name, sister of Don May, and will take over the Australian and New Zealand part of the business. Mr. May had been living in the US before moving home in the middle of last year to help run the struggling local operations. Now he's heading back to look after the overseas part of the group, which has been having its own struggles, particularly Japan and France. Ms. Hayman is no novice. She has spent 36 years in the business, initially working for her brother when he was a store manager. Since its peak in 2021, when COVID restrictions were encouraging people to buy lots of pizza, Domino's share price has gone from more than $160 to about $33.
Last one, story number 5, Kamala Harris fronts the Democratic National Convention this week, effectively introducing her to millions of voters who haven't been engaged in the race for president yet.
It's 80 days till Election Day, and most of Ms. Harris's public statements so far have been focused on the personality fight between her and Donald Trump. Over the weekend, she released a policy on cracking down on price gouging and subsidies to boost housing supply, both which received a mixed response, shall we say. The convention this week will set the tone for whether the election is about personality, where Kamala Harris is doing pretty well at the moment, or policy, where the Republicans are holding their ground. President Biden will give a major speech on Wednesday, Aussie time, in what will be a symbolic handover of the Democratic nomination to the Vice President.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 19th of August, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.